All right, what's up? Let's see here. All right. Man, we got everyone in here today. Cardboard saying morning. Cardboard saying, let me try that again. Morning, everyone. Canes, good after. Man, it's not the afternoon yet, dude. It's not even noon yet, Canes. It's not even noon yet, man. Guys, obviously, well, like normal, we're gonna give people some time to kind of join in, but um, obviously, like the Alberto Osuna thing is a really big deal because the Diego Pavia thing was it was football, and there is a question. Obviously, I think at some point it was going to happen in baseball, but I guess there is a distinction between like a football, which is a revenue major, the number one revenue sport. You know, maybe they would treat players differently there. Maybe it's looked at again because Pavia's main argument was that I lost out time of well, I lost out on time to capitalize on my NIL, and I lost money because of it. So what a lot of people didn't understand, we're kind of waiting to see is how is this going to impact baseball, which is still like a very low revenue. Some places do make money on baseball, right? But it's that's the outlier right now, even though that is slowly changing. People, more and more people are going to games. Obviously the TV deals that um, these schools are getting now with the different networks and everything. So that, I mean that is changing, but it is going to be this is a major uh, development for college baseball because this is the first big time player, generally speaking, that this is happening for in baseball. That JUCO tournament was awesome. Which one did you go to, Canes? Obviously down in like South Florida, like Fort Myers area, or where was it? Some really good players, but you can see the difference from JUCO pitching and ACC pitching. Yeah, I mean it's just yeah, you're right. It's just on a pure depth basis, there's going to be a little bit less. Just overall, you may have a little bit more stuff guys that aren't necessarily command guys. So you're just going to see a little bit, less uh, talent overall. But it's still really close, kind of like you're kind of saying, Canes. But Asuna isn't the first. His North Carolina team got his eligibility back in the winter, so he can go back to UNC. I believe he's a hitter who hit 10 jacks for them as well. Um, Osuna isn't the first. What do you mean he isn't the first? Because he was at Tampa. I don't know what you mean by going back to North Carolina. But anyway, yeah, he hit 10. He hit like 14 jacks last year. I do think. Listen, he's a good player. I think it's a little bit overstated, kind of how impactful he is, and especially moving to the SEC. Not like it's that big of a jump or anything, but like this is what you guys have to understand: is Alberto Ozuna has played at UNC for 3 years. He played at Walter State before that, and basically had no more years of eligibility left at UNC, and so went to down to Tampa D2, best team D2, fighting, trying to see if he could get an extra year of eligibility. Now it was granted to him essentially based on the Pavia case because he had spent a year at junior college. He wasn't able to maximize it. Now he can go to Tennessee. So now he's 2 weeks before the season starts. He's probably going to be in the lineup for Tennessee, maybe at first base. Um, I didn't go to it. It was on Perfect Game TV. Okay, Chipolo's in it. Yeah, I know. Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about. A lot of good teams. Zach was at the tournament since he lives in Panama City. I'll get the name of his teammate now. His North Carolina teammate got his eligibility back in the winter. Yeah, get the teammate's name. I just want to know if it's. I'm guessing it's under a different circumstance, Canes, but I may be wrong. But anyway, essentially, guys, what this means is that the Pavia ruling is going to start applying to baseball players. So like now, and remember that whole JUCO thing that was uh, basically you get an extra year of eligibility. The whole waiver that NCAA came out with, that was if your D1 eligibility ends this academic year. So this wouldn't apply to Osuna. So this is a new ruling just for him, but it's kind of signaling that this is coming to college baseball. I mean, right? The more and more of these dominoes that fall over, how can you actually prevent, come up with a rule if you're going to just constantly allow these guys that have played a year of JUCO or 2 years of JUCO, then it's not a big deal, right? Like you can't tell people, you can't have a waiver that only applies to certain people, and then, oh well, this guy gets his eligibility back and that guy gets his eligibility back. It just doesn't work like that. Yeah, I'm looking at Jackson Vanderbrake right now, Canes, and just reading through. After requesting an additional season of eligibility, Jackson Vanderbrake was granted it by the NCAA, allowing him to play one more season for the UNC program. Second All-ACC selection during 23 season. Hope that Vanderbrake can replicate that success in his final season. Yeah, but I'm trying to figure out like the circumstances of being granted the eligibility, Canes, because did he go to a junior college? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Is it the same thing, or is it a different? Okay, I think you're going to tell me because I don't want to spend I'll just type it in. Georgia also has a player who got his eligibility back. Yeah, there's plenty of players that have been getting eligibility back, but they haven't been so far from the ones I've seen, because of, oh, you played 1 year to JUCO and you couldn't maximize your NIL. There was other things going on. The difference between them and Osuna is Osuna transferred to Tampa. The other two never left their school, so people didn't know. Okay, so they all were JUCO guys, Canes. But this is the thing I don't understand about Osuna. And yeah, I know you're going to look at it for me, but Osuna, is he an impact guy? I mean, kind of. Like, let's look at, season by season. Here's a great article that we can read and just talk about like the impact he's had at North Carolina. Not to say he hasn't been a good player, but okay, so they were all JUCO guys. Okay. Former North Carolina first baseman Alberto Osuna is joining Tennessee. Yeah, we know that. So like, let's look at the years he had at UNC. So at his senior season last year, played in all 62 games, hit 281 with 14. Okay, like 281 14, solid. Like, this is not a superstar. This is not a really. This isn't even like a second team all ACC type player. This isn't even all ACC type numbers. 64 hits, 17 doubles. I mean, he's an extra base hits guy, but this is not a premium bat. How I would say it. In 23, he hit 223 with 11 home runs. And then his best season was his, first season after transferring from JUCO, where he hit 20 home runs and hit 265. So this is not like a superstar bat. This is a solid kind of like seven hole, maybe 6-hole type bat on a really good team. But this is not and again, like, he gets to work with Josh Elander, but it's 2 weeks before season. So we'll just have to wait and see. But like, I think it's a little overhyped. Like how impactful his presence will be. Again, there is an advantage to having someone what you're going to get versus you have no idea what you're going to get. But I mean, I think, just looking at his numbers, especially in this offensive climate, I mean, if you're hitting like 260, even to 280, it's just not very good. It's just, I mean, it's okay, right? It's serviceable, but this isn't like a, man, Tennessee just got way better type thing. They definitely got more power, but that's usually not really something they need. So we'll just have to see. He didn't do good against Miami when we played him last year. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, to me, what those numbers scream is exploitable or he's pitchable. So this is not a guy on the like the opposing team when they're scouting the lineup. They're not looking at Ozuna and saying, "Oh, we gotta stay away from this guy. Like, we can't let this guy beat us." What they're saying is, okay, he's very susceptible to this. He's susceptible to this. But if you make a mistake, he'll burn you, right? You'll pitch to those guys all day because they are pitchable, right? There's every team's got probably two guys if they're a good team, sometimes even, if you're a really stacked team, even more, that you really don't know how to attack because they're adjustable. They make in-game adjustments. Just because the report says one thing doesn't mean that's how they're going to perform in the series, because they do make adjustments, like a Drew Burris, for example, guys like that. The scouting report for Drew Burris was probably changing every 2 weeks because it was like, well, yeah, we were successful a few times getting him with this pitch, but then he made an adjustment. So you don't, we didn't, that pitch worked for a couple of bats, and then it was like next pitch he burned us with it. And he just has a more adjustable swing. So it's not like there's like I've talked to you guys about, there's a lot of people when you look at their path and you look at their setup, you know exactly where to pitch them as soon as you see them. And that's probably 60% of hitters in college baseball, where you can look at them and immediately know, okay, this guy is. I actually saw a great video. I'm trying to see if I can find it. Okay, here it is. And this is like, you guys have seen me. We've talked about the motor preferences, right? And Eugene, what's up, man? Eugene, a little tardy, but I'm in the house. Yeah, you're in the house. You're in the house, baby. All right. Let's see here. Now I know why my son says it all the time, because I say it all the time, even though I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah, and because I have little kids, my nose is stuffed at all times. But this is Pedro Martinez talking about, he would look at the batters he would face, what their bat waggles looked like pre-pitch, and he would deduce from that was where they wanted the ball.
Yeah, where batters want the ball to be thrown to them, or their power alley, you have to look at how they wiggle the bat around the strike zone. And they will let you know where they hit the ball, where most of the time they would like it to be thrown, so that they can really juice it out. And that's what I went to figure out. I went to see everybody, and it's funny, because I don't think they're conscious that they're doing that, but they're showing you the path that they have where they want the.
So everything he's saying right now is saying, essentially, I don't even know if they're conscious of it, but what I found is that when guys are doing their kind of like, they're kind of waggle towards the pitcher before getting ready, what I found is that that's where they like the ball. So when I watch them do that, I just pitch not in those zones. Right? And it's funny, and look what the numbers they back up.
A low fastball hitter. Guys that want the fastball, low, middle in. This is another guy. See how he wiggles? Barry Bonds, dangerous on the inner part. You drop it low, middle in, sweet spot. Edgar, he's letting you know where he wants the ball. Out over the plate, over the middle.
Let's go look at Mike Trout. All right.
Mike Trout.
We saw this today. We were watching Mike Trout hit, and we're like, he wants the ball down.
Oh, yeah, right. Believe me. And he's a good
look at the heat maps. He's waggling at bottom of the zone. And everyone knows that, right? Mike Trout just crushes kind of bottom of the zone to middle of the zone. And that's because he does have some, vertical bat angle through the zone.
Fastball.
And so if you want to look at the stats.
Like, this is what you guys don't understand is like, and John, welcome to the chat, man. Sorry, I didn't see it. John Parkinson, where does it end? I'm 40. Do I get 2 years of eligibility back for my JUCO seasons? Hey, we'll see. We'll find out soon, I guess.
We've all talked about it.
But like, even a guy like Mike Trout, the reason he's elite, even though he struggles at the top of the zone, is like, he's not swinging at this. Like, he's not trying. Like, if you're a hitter and you know where your weakness is, you want to work on that as much as you can. But like motor preferences would suggest, like, you're just always going to have preferences for where you like the ball, and based on how your body moves and how your swing is. And so even though Mike Trout struggles like up and away, which makes sense because if he's got vertical bat angle, he's going to cover like all of this zone and even right up and in, because his bat is entering the zone there. So he's entering the zone there, so he can make some adjustment up and in. but it's very hard for him to get, because this is to hit this pitch on the up and away. You got to be pretty flat, right? I mean, you got to stay flat to that. And so if you have a vertical bat angle through the zone, that's just going to be the toughest pitch to hit, like every time.
You know, we've all talked about. All right, here's Nelly.
And Nelson Cruz, look at this one.
Nelly wants that ball
He wants
right.
it middle
Not
up.
quite as
Like, if
low
you're
as
watching
Trout.
this, look at
No.
Right there.
That's where he wants it.
Right in the, right there.
Right
Oh,
there.
he's showing he wants it up and
Right
away.
there. Right there.
Right, see right there, like middle to up and away in this zone. And look at this. Look at this. You know, it's not. It's and again, it's kind of a funny video. It's not perfect, but it is interesting how much.
And so if you drop.
It is very interesting how much it correlates, because you know this with his motor preferences that I'm reading and kind of looking into every night. It's just a way of saying, like, listen, people move in certain ways, and so they're going to have certain preferences for where they like pitches, what pitches they like to hit, everything like that. And so it's funny that like this move in baseball that is super unique. It's like when Matt Swope tells people to cross their arms, and you would do it the same 100 times in a row because that's your preference. With the batting swing and how they waggle their bat, it's the exact same thing. It's like no one taught them how to do that. No one told you, like, this is how you need to do your pre-pitch waggle thing. And everyone's is different. And it's funny how it could correlate to where they actually like pitches to be thrown in the zone. And then for all those hitters, now I'm sure there would be some where it doesn't, right? But maybe not. Who knows? We'd have to look into it. You know what's unfortunate is the D1 baseball site is down for maintenance. Oh, it's cleared now. And it looks like they updated it. Okay. Looks good. All right. Powerful Alberto Osuna transfers to Tennessee as opening day nears. Okay. So I'm gonna look at this article, just see what D1 Baseball's take is. And then we'll talk about the impacts after this article. Defending national champion Tennessee is expected to receive a significant power boost with the season just a couple of weeks away. This is important to note that Tennessee, it's well known. Great place to hit home runs. Wind typically blows out. It's not really that big. I've called a few games there over the years, and so Alberto Osuna, whereas UNC is not really considered, for the most part, like a field where you hit a lot of home runs. So you can be confident in expecting that Osuna probably will hit more home runs as a hitter in Tennessee's lineup. Canes, question to you: how hard is it to find a serviceable backup catcher? Are you talking about in college, Canes? It's really not. Like, here's the thing: like, your serviceable backup catcher, what's more important is that defensively he's on par. Someone that doesn't allow free bases. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you want what you want is you want a catcher that blocks everything. Again, the run game against most teams, you're not really worried about the run game that much because just most people are not. If you're playing Wofford, you are. If you're playing Boston College, you are. Or Campbell, Ohio State now with Hare there. So there's certain teams that really are aggressive base paths and stealing a lot of bases. But besides that, most guys, it's not really a major concern. As long as obviously the catcher can throw well enough and the pitchers, because all the pitchers are generally speaking like quick enough to the plate that it is, unless you're really specialized in an offense and you train your guys to do it, you don't want to take a chance stealing bases in this offensive climate when everybody's hitting 10 plus home runs. That's the issue. So your backup catcher just needs to be able to block stuff, frame, and like you'll take what you can get with the bat. That's it. So it's not really that hard to find one, because your backup catcher, is it great if he can hit too? Yeah, but it's just hard to find a catcher who can do all of those. Cardboard, how do you see ESA using the Swope book to evaluate y'all's clients, or do you all plan to use it? I think it's in a sense, I want to read it first and just really get an idea of what's in it, how he interprets what tricks he uses to identify, an aerial versus a terrestrial, or a horizontal versus a vertical, or associated versus disassociated, and all the other ones, motor shoulder and motor eye and all that stuff. Um, but I think it is helpful in just a general knowledge of it, of recognizing, okay, this player that I'm working with, who, like I've told you guys, we help on the development side too, by just being like, listen, this is your goal and this is where you want to be. Like, we need to improve in this area. Well, if I know if a kid's a terrestrial or an aerial, that's now going to help me help the kid, because now I know, okay, that there's a reason he looks like that as a player. And then, like I said, I gotta finish reading it and do some more research on my own online and everything. But once I'm done with it, I'll have an idea. But I mean, from what I've read so far, uh, to me, it just makes too much sense. It's one of those things you read and you're just like, yeah, that's it. Yeah, this makes total sense. So we'll see, Cardboard. Ozuna, as with many others upperclassmen in other programs, left North Carolina this past summer when it was thought that he and where did I lose? Where did I lose my spot? That he and countless other Division I student athletes were out of Division I baseball eligibility. He found a temporary home at Division II power program, University of Tampa, during the fall. However, as often as the case these days, I can't read today. What's going on? There have been apparent winds of change on the college athletics front over the past couple of months that allowed Osuna to return to the Division I ranks. As we chronicled here, a court injunction was filed in the case of Vanderbilt quarterback. We know that. That injunction concluded that his 2 seasons at the New Mexico Military Institute did not count against his Division I eligibility. The NCAA Division I Board of Directors issued a blanket waiver a few days later that granted another year of eligibility to anyone who had previously competed at the junior college level. No. D1 baseball is even getting this wrong. It's not anyone who had previously competed at the junior college level. It's only if your eligibility ends this academic year and you competed at a junior college level. But anyway, situation doesn't appear to be over. In recent days, some student athletes have threatened to sue the NCAA for unlimited eligibility. Unlimited eligibility. Here we go. Wisconsin football player, we saw that, filed a lawsuit against the NCAA earlier this week that aims to eliminate the NCAA's ability to enforce any eligibility timelines moving forward. So this lawsuit, I didn't see that part. This lawsuit aims to eliminate the NCAA's ability to enforce any eligibility timelines moving forward. The NCAA is considered granting all athletes 5 years of eligibility beginning with 2026 recruiting class, but a final decision hasn't been made. Of course, look, 5 years of eligibility now. But a final decision hasn't been made. Of course, pending and future court cases will decide the viability of that plan. This decision will be made by the courts or by a legislative body at the federal level. Let's see here. Let's see what Cardboard's got for us. Will you be making more videos about the SWOPE info as you continue to understand it and its application? Yes, 100%. I'm telling you, they do no research. Well, you know what? They're generally correct about most of the stuff they post, so we'll give them a break. All right, so let's keep reading. As for Osuna, he still needs to have a waiver approved, but he is enrolled in classes at the University of Tennessee. His waiver, just like Pavia and others, is fully expected to be approved. SEC rival Georgia is another program that could benefit from the Pavia ruling. Dylan Goldstein, who is now enrolled in practicing with the Bulldogs, also has requested a waiver for another year of eligibility. Goldstein hit 12 homers and knocked in 43 runs last season. So what is Tennessee getting in Alberto Osuna? For starters, his addition comes at a perfect time for Tony Vitello's program. Projected first baseman Alex Perry, who has impressive power, stepped away from the program 2 weeks ago, and a timeline for his potential return has not been announced. Canes, what do you got on Perry stepping away from the program? I have not seen this. Osuna's addition to the roster takes some of the sting off that departure. The Volunteers would love to get Perry back into the fold, too, but the addition of Osuna makes that position and the overall health of this team even stronger. In addition to his massive power potential, Osuna has more than 700 plate appearances at the Division I level. Tennessee enters the 2025 season ranked number 4 by D1 Baseball. Why did Perry step away from the team? That is really, really weird. Why can't I click on any of these things? Interesting. All right, let's take it down for a second. Oh, it's loading still. Why is it loading? Yeah, I mean, to me, guys, all right, let's just go to their D1 baseball. It says personal matters, could be drugs, and he's trying to get back on track. Yikes. Hope that's not it, but or family in bad shape. Either one's not good. All right, let's see here. Again, I keep him saying the things my 3-year-old son always says. I'm like, why do you say that all the time? And then I just keep hearing myself say it over and over again. All right, let's. I almost said it again. Okay, where do we want to go with this? All right, perfect. I know exactly where we're going. Okay. Our favorite sports law attorney, Mitt Winter. Right, this guy's probably the best at covering the house settlement stuff. All right, here we go. This is from Sam. Ooh, we got some interesting stuff for the house settlement, guys. This is interesting to pay attention to, okay? All right, let's see here. All right. Here's the here's the first one, big. Here's the first big one. Ex-UCLA softball player, Olympian, and 2 times USA Softball Collegiate Player of the Year writes that the settlement does not fully compensate athletes who were denied lucrative NIL opportunities, e.g. an American Girl doll, while contributing to the rise of the sport. Yeah, I mean that's the thing, guys. I'm thinking to myself, like, there's no way that they have enough money to like compensate some of these players who were like superstars and didn't get anything, right? Because what's the metric that they're going to go by? So she had to turn down an American girl doll in her likeness, and she was offered a part in a movie that she both had to refuse because it would have violated the amateurism in her ability to play in college. Okay. Another big women's sports name, former Duke and Boston College women's lacrosse player and current ESPN broadcaster Charlotte North, objects to the settlement not considering and releasing Title IX given the historically disparate resources given to women's sport. And I don't want to get too much into the documents, but I mean, Title IX has been around for quite a while now, right, guys? Like, I don't know. All right, former Mississippi State and Florida football player Jace Chrisman objects to walk-ons not being included in the more lucrative classes. Pretty fair point. He was an all-SEC kicker and yet is only getting a $4,000 estimate. What? Oh my gosh! So these people are getting totally like screwed. Like a kicker in the SEC and the ACC right now is getting like at least a couple $100,000, and they said, this guy's worth 4,000. When many of my teammates are being offered 30 to 40 times more than me, more than my current salary, it pains me to look back at my accomplishments on the college football field, only to realize that my financial sacrifice for the betterment of the team has led to a complete discounting of the fact that I left Mississippi State as the best statistical kicker in school history, and a complete discounting of the fact that I started and played in 10 games my senior season at the University of Florida. So like this is yeah, it's like, oh, you were a walk on, yeah, you must have sucked. It's like, no, I was actually pretty good. I haven't heard a soul talk about Title IX. Yeah, I haven't. I've seen it get brought up. I just haven't seen anything like basically saying what's the problem. I don't see anyone adding women's scholarships while football has gone to 105 spots. Yeah, I mean it just wouldn't make sense, right? Miami added 32 guys. That includes the portal, and we only lost 15. Whew. That's an interesting letter, though. Okay, similarly, 4 current or former Stanford football players, Jason Thompson, Logan Berzins, Dorsey Gibson, and Joseph Cale Lucas, object to PWO's exclusion from the main football class. Looks like preferred walk-ons exclusion. Looks like David Casamervis passed around his letter as a template. Not a bad idea. My NIL was used on broadcast television and other media. My NIL was used in the video game. Dude, okay, like, see, this is where I get a little bit annoyed. Like, if you go down the bottom of this letter, it's like, I was an active roster participant in fall camp, a time of year when the roster number is limited per NCAA. I played in 6 games during my career, totaling 45 snaps during games. I traveled to 1 away game in my freshman year, 3 my sophomore year, and all the games my senior year. I suited out for all home games and in my career suited out and had the potential to play in 36 out of possible 48 games. Had the potential to play. More like you didn't play. My senior year, I started on 3 special teams, kickoff return, and punt return. It's like, dude, like you were a Division I athlete as a walk-on and you never really played and you're like begging for money. I get it that guys want, like, listen, a guy like me who was like an All-American, first team All-ACC player, led the ACC in hits, like led the country in hits my junior year for most of the year. I'm not even involved. Guys, like, there's plenty of really great players, even way better than me, that aren't going to get any money, that are in like the Hall of Fame, like my teammate Daniel Palka. He's in Georgia Tech Hall of Fame. He ain't getting any of the settlement money. And this guy who like no offense, like was a bench warmer for his whole life is like basically acting, I should be getting more money. Like that's actually hurting. That this letter is people are like, because people involved in this are gonna look at this like, what? You played in 5 games? Here's a good one. Former Washington All-American linebacker Benjamin Burr Curvin. Why are these, is everyone's names getting weirder now? Like I can't pronounce these names. I've never heard of them before. Objects to the way that payouts are calculating under the settlement, writing that it is illogical that performance metrics are not included in the calculations. I like that. I like that. I received numerous conference and national accolades from 2018 to 2019. I was the most decorated player on the Washington football team and one of the most decorated football players in the entire Pac-12 conference. For example, I was the #1 tackler in the nation, Pac-12 Conference Defensive Player of the Year, Pac-12 Scholar of the Year, first team All-American, a finalist for the Ronnie Lott Impact Trophy. These walk-ons are embarrassing themselves. He should be grateful that he got free food, free training as a walk-on. Yeah, I mean, like let us not forget that you are on a full ride at one of the best academic institutions in the country in Stanford University, and you get to play football. Like you said, meals are paid for. Like, dude, you're on a full scholarship. Like, so a lot of these players, like in baseball, like partial scholarship guys, we're trying to, actually need some money. Sorry, my wife is texting me about some stuff. I have to respond. Anyway, so this is like, again, the issue here is there's a lot of players, and this is how it always was going to be. But when in this massive class lawsuit, you're going to have like the standout stud players like this guy who's like, listen, I know he's probably getting offered a lot of money, but he's like this. Some of my buddies who are just like average players that played every game are getting the same amount. I was one of the best players in the country. Why am I not getting more? So he's trying to get more, rightfully so, one of the best players in the country. And then you have this walk-on guy who played. So you didn't really play in 5 games. You played in like how many snaps are typically in a football game? Played like half a game or whatever. It's like special teams. You know, no offense, special teams guys. I'm just saying like you weren't an All-American linebacker. So let's go on to the next guy. Let's see what you guys are saying here. How much would a 4 years of food cost a walk-on if he did not pay? I mean, it depends on the place, right? Depends on where you're at, but I mean, probably like a meal plan. Shoot, I mean, probably at least. I mean, right now, probably at least 10 grand total 4 years. I mean, more than that, probably more than that, but like that's bare minimum if you're at a Division I school. I feel like the line should be if they're making money off of your name, image, and or likeness, they should be compensated for it. This is getting way out of control quick. Yeah. Well, you know what? That's the thing. It's like because this is the issue, cardboard, is that you have like these guys that are in the NCAA football game now, but and so they're like, well, I'm getting, I'm in the game. I need money from that, but it's like you're not one of the guys that people are buying the game to play as. Nobody knows who you are. And then you have like the superstar players like I want to play as this guy in an NCAA game. So the question is, how do you weight that? Do you weight it at all, or does everybody get an equal share? That's the question. And that's what some of these people are fighting. So Graham Messer, what's up, Graham? Do you foresee good D1 schools even recruiting high school players in the near future? Yeah, I mean, I think they're definitely still going to be recruiting high school players. The question is just how many. Um, and there's so much change going on now. I mean, definitely with these JUCO players that now all of a sudden are getting extra years of eligibility. You have players playing in their 6th year or their 7th year, and so it's just limiting the opportunities for high school players overall. And like we talk about all the time, I mean, the portal players are way more attractive to college coaches because you know what you're getting. Like the Alberto Osuna guy, let's just for as an example. He's like a 260 career hitter at UNC, give or take, right? Just based on the numbers. And he's going to, on average, hit you about 14 home runs. So you're getting like a 265 or better hitter. He draws a lot of walks, like he's an OPS guy. He's going to hit for power. He's going to drive in runs. Now, there could be a high school kid out there that you could take a chance on and could come in and hit 15 home runs and hit over 300. And he's going to be more valuable than Alberto Osuna. The problem is you don't know that until the season starts and gets going. You really don't. Like, this is what I've tried to preach to you guys for a long time. There's so many freshmen out there that look like they're going to be studs, that coaches think are going to be really good. And then they get on campus and they're terrible. They get to campus and they were a top 50 player. I played with a bunch of them at Georgia Tech. We were like the number 2 recruiting class in the country. They came on campus facing, college competition, Division I competition, ACC competition, and they could not cut it. Like right away. That wasn't like 2 months in, okay, yeah, I don't think this guy's good. It was like week 1, week 2. This guy's striking out in every at bat, has no idea how to make an adjustment. Simple as that. Not good defensively. Game sped up. That's what happens. And so as a recruiting coordinator in college, you're looking at, okay, do I take this risk, this chance on this high school kid that I really like? And we're not talking about like a Drew Burris, right? That's a little bit easier to, put your cards, go all in on that guy. We're talking about like a little bit below Drew Burris, like top 50 or worse. And, what's this guy going to end up being? Or I can go get Alberto Osuna. I know exactly what I'm going to get. It's guaranteed, basically. So that's the issue for high school players now, especially, Graham, just to answer your question again, it's the high school position players are really getting affected by all this stuff. The high school pitchers, I've talked about this a bunch. I mean, pitching is just way easier to project. You see a high school kid who's 150 pounds and he throws 91 and he's 6'2", and he can throw strikes decently. Like, you're going after that kid because he's got 40, 50 pounds to put on, and he's already throwing, high 80s, low 90s, and he's got pretty good command. Like, this guy could become a dude for you. That was Walker Buehler at Vanderbilt. When I faced him his freshman year, as my junior year, guy had to be 160 pounds at 6'3", or 165 pounds. I mean, he had 40 pounds to put on easy, and he was 92, 95. Now he threw strikes. His off speed stuff was not great. Fastball really didn't get on you very well. It was for an experienced college player in division at the Power 4, Power 5 level. It was a fairly comfortable at bat. I mean, you knew what you were getting. Fastball was very hittable, even though it was firm. I think I ended up going 2 for 2 off him or 2 for 3. And then I faced him 5 years later in AAA, and he had put on the 40 pounds, and now he was throwing like 100, and the breaking ball was super nasty. The cutter was nasty. Slider was nasty. Changeup was nasty. So he had 5 pitches, and so that's what college like. It's very easy to make that decision on Walker Buehler because he's got everything you're looking for, and he's projectable. To include any brands that do so as well. Oh, sure. Yeah. 100%. So a good 27 class position player should maybe focus on JUCO at this point. Not yet, right? Because 27s, I mean, you're still not even at your contact date. But certainly, and again, most 27s aren't going to get a call August 1st. That's just, I mean, that's not how it's going anymore. But certainly that, when that junior summer, like Graham, you got so much time to make a decision about JUCO. JUCOs aren't going after. They will not be looking at 27s right now. Now, if a lot of stuff changes with these JUCO rulings, they may be able to get a little bit more aggressive on the younger players who are just, allowed to have contact. But that's not how it's worked in the past. JUCOs typically are committing guys their junior and senior years. So, you don't have to make a decision about focus on JUCO until really not this coming summer, but the summer afterward. And typically near the end of it. If you feel like, no, at next summer, not this coming summer, I'm trying to make sure it's clear. The summer after this coming summer, if you're not getting a lot of feedback and conversations with coaches and everything like that, probably need to start focusing D2 JUCO, which are, again, very, very good routes for players now with these eligibility things going on. Kane says no, laugh out loud to the comment above. Yeah, I mean, it's just too soon. You don't need to focus on, but 27 doesn't need to focus on, like, for example, 26 this summer, depending on how everything's going, wants to start thinking about JUCO. Right, that's the timeline. All right, let's get back to some of these things. Finally, a former USC football player, Porter Gustin, objects to his payout calculation, feeling it improperly fails to include any damages for lost NIL opportunities. The key contention I'm making in this appeal letter is that my marketability was substantial. I have attached to this letter a number of articles from numerous publications on numerous dates focusing on my athletic prowess, my unique and novel diet plan, my weight room habits, and records, as well as the expectations placed upon me by my team, teammates, and the USC and national community at large. There's absolutely no question that I would have had substantial interest in subsequent deals from the multi-billion-dollar healthcare industry, fitness industry, health food industry, outdoor sports industry, along with athletic gear and apparel opportunities that USC, the Pac-12 Conference, and the NCAA benefited from, but I was denied the opportunity to benefit from. It defies logic to think that I would only be offered a little over $57,000 when I was the highest recruited high school player in my state, an Army All-American, projected early round draft pick, all while maintaining a stellar GPA, football statistics, and garnering national attention from the media while playing at one of the largest and most prestigious universities in the world. Additionally, I was the subject of numerous articles, including Sports Illustrated and NFL.com's Freakiest Players for the 2017, placing number 8 overall, which focused on my standout abilities on the field and my work ethic, and I was consistently listed as a top 10 player at my position by college insiders and draft specialists. I excelled in the classroom and was well even winning Student Athlete of the Month in September of 2018 for football, maintaining a stellar GPA in the classroom as well. With the overwhelming amount of media attention given to me and the amount that the University of Southern California used my name, image, and likeness to promote the school, its brand in the athletic department, as well as college athletics overall, I do not believe there is any question that I am entitled to more than $57,000 amount offered to me. I would like the ability to speak on my behalf or have my attorney speak on my behalf at the final approval hearing. Wow. I mean, yeah, Kay, I want to get involved in this thing, man. Let me get in there. Let me get involved in this. So to answer your question, Cardboard, how far is this going to go back retroactively? I think it's 2016. I think. So it's like 3 years from when I last played. And the funny thing is, guys, like for a lot of us former college athletes, like we actually talk about this a lot just because of how big this is getting. And we all kind of talk about like if we were playing in this era, how much money would you get? So like, I mean, you're talking, you're talking even in baseball, like these football players getting 57,000. This guy'd be probably getting, I don't know exactly who he is, but he would be getting in the hundreds of thousands today, like no question. So of course he's like 57. I should be getting way more than this. I'm guessing. So he was a sophomore All-American, honorable mention, and All Pac-12 honorable mention. So he's like a solid player. Maybe not like a, I don't know. I don't know how good he was, but whatever. I'll add more to this thread as they come in, including this anonymous letter objecting to roster limits. Okay. Is there an expectation that we are waiting for any more from last week to be posted to the docket this week? Definitely. Letters only had to have been postmarked by January 31st to be accepted, so I would definitely expect more to file in over the course of the week or so. I know of at least 2 from people I've talked to that I know were mailed in but haven't shown up on the docket yet. Player of the month? No way. The military uses our NIL all the time, no compensation. Yeah. You add a B on there too. Name, image, likeness, and body probably is what they use. Got it. Thanks. So, I mean, what you're seeing, there are, a pretty substantial amount of people. Yeah, I know you're kidding. I know you're kidding, Cardboard. Because I think the one part of the military is like you really had to volunteer to be like I'm willing to do this. Doesn't mean you don't deserve to be get proper treatment and stuff when you're done. Here's a letter from Rep. Wahlberg, who heads the House Committee on Education and the Workforce, to the Government Accountability Office about how D1 and D2 athletic department funding impacts tuition cost and whether student aid subsidizes athletic department spending. The key takeaway from the IRS, this is a big one too, the IRS denial letters. And where's Wes at? Where's my boy Wes at? By providing compensation to student athletes for the use of their NIL, you confer an impermissible amount of private benefit to the student athletes. Therefore, you are operating for a substantial non-exempt purpose. So basically, these NIL collectives are trying to operate as basically nonprofits, if I could be right. They're trying to be exempt from federal income tax, but they're getting denied. So, the NCAA and its member schools want rules, players, restrictions that pro sports leagues have through collective bargaining without acknowledging they are operating pro sports teams and accepting other things that come along with that. So Mitt's idea here is that, the NCAA is, wants the same rules / player restrictions that pro sports leagues have. So like salary cap, they want, contract deals, whatever. But without acknowledging, but they're not acknowledging that they are operating pro sports teams and accepting other things that come along with that. This creates many legal issues. Matt Rule saying Nebraska might cancel its spring game due to tampering concerns captures so much wrong with college sports these days. Colleges want pro sports like employment restraints without the employment part. It creates a legal mess. Yeah, because think about it, guys. Like, let's say, this is a great point because think about it. You have your spring game, and this is a lot like this would be the same as like a fall World Series in baseball, right before the portal opens, just like the spring game in football. And you have a couple players really stand out that look really good, and you're at Nebraska, and all of a sudden, Alabama comes calling. Some other people that are connected to Clemson or A&M or whatever, and start whispering in the guy's ear, hey, go in the portal. Alabama's got something for you, or Clemson's got something for you. And now Matt Rule's like, we can't play a spring game because the guys that play well are going to try to get poached. Nobody wants his players. They haven't made a bowl game in 9 years. I wouldn't say that, Canes. I mean, every team at that level is going to have a few really good players. That you know, it's the same as baseball. There's there's going to be teams in the SEC and ACC that end up not even that's not even an example. Let's think about there's going to be players, really good players at mid majors all across the country in baseball. They may not be a very good team, but they're still going to have a few really good players. And so it's the same in football. It's like, well, you may even think that Nebraska is not that, uh, you know, not that good of a team, but it doesn't mean they won't have some good players. All right, so 2 good points raised here regarding potential approval of the House settlement. While Judge Wilkin could approve or deny on April 7th, it's more likely she issues a written order weeks later. When Wilkin granted preliminary approval, she hadn't heard from athletes yet. So that's the kind of the question going in the air right now, is that she hadn't heard the athletes' objections yet from these, the people that defected from the damages classes and everything like that. Going to cardboard here. Next thing you know, these colleges are going to start developing trade packages. Yeah, I mean, we're kind of headed in that direction, right? I mean, it wouldn't be surprising if that happened. But to not play a spring game, you're literally costing the school easily over 100 to 500,000 in revenue. I mean, that's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, I think it is a little bit overblown, but it's definitely a concern. Like, I'll say it like that. Like, maybe it's a little dramatic, but that's definitely a concern that is legitimate. And like I said, if they make it to where midseason transfers are legal, college baseball, that Fall World Series, there are gonna be a lot of fans in the stands, if you know what I mean. Easily, especially at Nebraska, who brings 80,000 for the spring game. Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. 100%. They probably make 500,000 on the beer alone. All right. No, so I think that now I want to get into kind of what the impact that these best way to call it is the Alberto Osuna waivers and all these waivers now that are getting approved for junior college players. Man, I'm getting messages. Alberto Osuna, basically, guys, what this is moving towards is junior college eligibility not counting. Like, it just kind of has to move to that point, probably soon, maybe before next fall, because how else is the NCAA going to operate? And if all these courts are throwing it in for the players, what else could happen? So what that means, and this goes to Messer's question earlier. If you're in your junior summer as a player, or your son's in his summer after his junior year, and you're not getting a whole lot of D1 interest, like JUCO. Again, it's not official yet, so don't make a decision like it's official. But it just seems inevitable that's where we're heading, because the more of these court cases that keep basically falling over, and basically telling the NCAA like, yeah, you're wrong, this guy can play, then it just has to become an overall ruling. And the question will then be, does 1 year of eligibility count against, or do you get 1 year of eligibility that doesn't count towards your D1 eligibility, or 2? And then if it's 2, guys, that's really bad for high school players. Also, is there a lobby firm that's pushing this behind the players? Undoubtedly so, Cardboard. Undoubtedly. That would be very surprised to hear there's not some kind of lobbying firm behind the whole thing. The military under Joe Biden. That's not what I meant to read. Where is my article I had right here? All right, so here's a bold prediction on the SEC versus ACC kind of argument from Tyler Jennings with Just Baseball Media. I don't know who this guy is, but his prediction is the ACC will be better than the SEC. It has a rich pool of talent this year. That's fighting words right there. Jared says that Texas A&M, they'll have a chip on their shoulder from last season and are absolutely loaded. I mean, agreed. Agreed. But I mean, A&M again. The big question mark isn't the players; it's the brand new head coach. That's the question mark. Not to say he's not qualified and can't do a great job, because I think a lot of people think that. But it's a first-time head coach with a preseason #1 team, and the teams, and again, the players loved him, so that's a good sign that they're going to really buy in and be like really have his back. But players really take on the personality and attitude of the head coach they play for. And so if you're like a guy that, I mean, if Michael Early turns out to be a guy that really can just motivate his team, they should be really good. And if he has the proper systems in place, generally speaking, in how to keep his team in line and everything like that, I mean, sky's the limit for that team. LSU has insane depth, and they're the team that has the most well-rounded group. That's 64 analytics on LSU being their #1 team. 64 analytics on Kentucky. I legitimately think this team is one of the most slept on teams in the country. So high praise for Kentucky. All right, here we go. Graham, that was my point. These college camps are expensive for parents, so it almost feels like a waste of money. Yeah, I mean, the college camps, Graham, definitely not worth to go to right now for 27. Maybe some in the fall, like 1 or 2. Just to kind of get in front of coaches, because here's the thing: a lot of 27 players, like, you're not going to get seen at all this coming summer, because coaches are all going to be in June. They're going to be focused on filling their portal class, and then in July they're going to be looking at the 26s, and then maybe a little bit the 27s. Every recruiting's just slowed down so dramatically. So I don't. They can be a waste of money, but this fall would probably be a good time to get out to a couple, just to get the whole coach's eyes, the whole staff's eyes on your son. It always has and always will be better. Yeah, I mean, we're biased, I think, though, Canes. The difference is the ACC doesn't have a media propaganda arm like CNN or Fox News pushing their propaganda. That's pretty funny. It just means more. GTFO. I mean, you are right. I mean, the SEC network is legit. I mean, they have, their coverage for college baseball is unbelievable. They got morning talk shows about it, weekend coverage. I mean, ACC's getting there, but the SEC, you're right, man. The SEC's got way more money behind their network and everything like that. 64 Analytics is very big with his transfer portal rankings. Miami uses his services. Nice. Man, we got like very little time, guys, until college baseball season starts. It's going to be awesome. Rice just landed an absolute dog in recruiting out of Florida. Miami is looking at this kid. Who is it? Hmm. All right, guys. Yeah, sorry we had to start a little bit earlier today. Just parenting situations with little kids that sometimes go to sleep and don't go to sleep and don't take their naps and do take their naps. So had to start a little bit earlier today, um, which is fine. Thanks for all the questions and everything like that. Um, Let me see here. Said it again. Um, all right, we're saving that. Thank you guys for tuning in. Canes, I'm going to read what you said after I had to do some back end stuff here and make sure everything's running properly. Okay. Was shocked he went to Rice, even though Rice is a historic baseball brand. They have been down like Cal State Fullerton. Yeah, I mean they're definitely not what they were when I was growing up. Obviously they were, with Wayne Graham and those guys. I mean they were that was a superstar type place. And it just kind of didn't grow. At Rice, again, it was one of those smaller schools that as the ACC and SEC have really taken over college baseball, it just hadn't been able to follow. But anyway, guys, have a good rest of your day. Remember, if you need help in the recruiting process, scan this QR code right here. We'll meet with you and talk about what we do and see if it's a good fit. Thanks for joining.